we were talking about alternative courts
Uh-huh.
and how important they are for the right individuals. Because what it does is it gives people the opportunity to have real accountability that pulls them out of the system, that pulls them out of their cycle where they continually relapse and they continually get into more criminal trouble.
Mhm.
And so because it's much more intense than probation. We put people on probation, but infrequently in cases, especially misdemeanor cases, the probation is, they see a probation agent once a month and maybe they do some counseling. Alternative courts or treatment court, drug court really pulls people in every single week. Every single week they are in front of a judge, they're in front of social workers and so forth. Let me just tell you one last thing. In talking with Judge Dutcher down in Washera County, his comment to us was, especially with regards to the young man that I was referring to, and a number of other people, his comment to us was that he believes that the drug court in Washera County has literally saved the lives of several young people because of that level of involvement by professionals into into the offender's life.
Mhm.
And it's great. I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing. And quite frankly, I wish that it's something that we already had in Portage County. And I'm working hard on the committee to do what I can to bring it in because I think that it's something that our citizens need. And I also think it's a good use of taxpayer dollars because it breaks the cycle of going back in jail and then getting revoked and so forth. So it's a good thing for the taxpayers. It's a really good thing for the appropriate offenders. And it's a pretty big group that will benefit from this.
Is the recidivism rate in other counties that you've studied this in, is the recidivism rate lowered enough to justify
Yes,
the expense, do you think?
yes, yes, it is.
Okay.
And then in terms of human costs, it also justifies it. But yes, if you can get one person, to put somebody in jail is about $82 a day.
Mhm.
$82 a day to house somebody in jail.
Yeah, that's just if we keep them in Portage County. Isn't there an additional cost if we have to ship them elsewhere?
There is some additional cost, but I mean, roughly that's the number you need to think about when you're talking about housing somebody in the jail, feeding them, providing for them, and so forth. Yeah, $82 a day. It's an expensive proposition to have somebody in our local jail, and even more expensive to put them in prison. Much, much, much more expensive. So when we're talking about taxpayers to some administrative areas where we can save money and where we have opportunities for improvement. Let me put it that way.
Okay. There has been a lot of talk over many months and in fact a couple of years now about building a new jail and building a new county facility. We've done study after study after study. We're pouring all this money down the drain to facilitate these studies. When are we going to start seeing some movement on possibly a new jail or county building?
Well, I can't answer that. I'm not on the county board. I'm a department head. My responsibility as a department head is to run my department, run it as best as I can. If I'm elected judge, my responsibility will be to run my court and to run it the best of my ability. But I will also be a leader for the county in the justice system. And will I have an opinion? Certainly I'll have an opinion. But when it comes to spending money, when it comes to the design, when it comes to whether we build a new building or not, that's ultimately up to the county board. Now, I'll tell you, I'll supplement that with a couple of additional pieces of information. One of the things that I urged the Planning and Zoning Committee to do, and they did it, is to come up with some operational costs of what the heating and air conditioning, what all of the different utility costs are in the current courthouse. And as you know, you've been up there, we have a lot of HVAC problems, heating and air conditioning problems in the building. I know of probably 6 or 7 people that run little, portable heating units. They're very expensive to run, but when the building is 63 degrees, you have to do something to get it to a livable temperature. So my point is that when it comes to the operational costs, we spend a great deal more operating the current courthouse than we would a new building. There's no question about that. In addition to that, we have a lot of security issues with the old building. But the bottom line is, the other point I wanted to make is some time ago, I actually suggested that we move the clerk of court's office to the first floor and build another courtroom on the second floor. And I actually had talked with our planning and zoning person, facilities department head, about how to do it. And it made a lot of sense. But if we were to have done that, it would have meant that we were making a permanent investment in that building, which I don't think people wanted to do. So the bottom line is, I will go wherever the county board sends me. If it's in the current building, that's where I'm gonna be. If it's in a new building, that's the county board's choice, not mine. And, if they choose to do that, I'll be in the new building.
Do you support building a new structure?
It's not my decision, it's the county board's decision. I will tell you, there are a number of factors that suggest that it is a good thing for the county to do. But when we're talking about a structure that's 50, 60, 70 million dollars, boy, that's a decision for the county board, for the people that are elected to make the decision for all of our community, the entire community. That's their decision, not mine. I will go wherever the courthouse is.
Okay. There have been a number of concerns brought out by the sheriff and some of the COs who work down in the jail that the mental health needs of inmates in the Portage County Jail aren't being met the way they need to be, and we don't have specific facilities for people with mental health issues. If you were elected judge, what would you propose we do about that?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that, as I've said many, many times, our judges are leaders in our justice system. And we, as a county, as a community, we need to do a better job of addressing mental health needs. I will tell you, I did sit on a committee that was part of the Justice Coalition to talk about dealing with mental health needs. And what I found out in that committee, the committee only met a couple of times, and then there were some suggestions that were made, and frankly, I don't know if they were followed up on or not. But one of the things that we did learn was that every single Stevens Point police officer has gone through some NAMI training, some mental health training. And I really applaud that. I think that that's wonderful. And we had a couple of people talk to us about how they intervene and interact with offenders in the moment of crisis, and how important that is. And the sheriff's department, at the point of that committee meeting, at that point in time, the officers in the sheriff's department had not gone through that similar training. And that may have changed at this point. What I will tell you is that, as a county, this is something we need to address. Just by coincidence, I sit on the board of Mid-State Independent Living Consultants, and that board, that organization, MILK, as it's commonly known, operates the house called Rock Point. Rock Point is a place that helps people with mental health issues to not be so isolated. It gives them a place to go during the day. And I think that, as a county, we should be doing more things like that and looking into more things like that, as far as addressing mental health problems. And again, that's kind of an access to the courts issue. I mean, I believe, as a county, we need to do a better job of addressing this. We have done some things, but we need to do more, such as the Rock Point. And that's a perfect topic for the Justice Coalition to take up with the committee. If I were elected judge, yes, that's something that I would certainly be advocating for, no question.
Okay. And we only have time for one last question.
Sure.
What would you say to someone who questioned you having announced your candidacy on county property? Because there is a county ordinance which states that no candidate can campaign for themselves on county property.
Well, a couple of answers here, or a couple of points that I guess I'd like to make. Number one, I think that the county courthouse steps, I think it's the right place to make your announcement of that kind. And I'll tell you, there's a long history of people making announcements. Louis Malevsky, when he ran for DA, he had a group that was at least as big as mine, with Malevsky signs on the courthouse steps. A couple of I think every other, all of my opponents in the primary for the judge position announced on the courthouse steps, because it seems to be sort of a magnet it just seems like the right place, where it embodies the concept of free speech and the First Amendment right and so forth. But I'll tell you, I think there's a difference between what happens outside on the courthouse steps and what happens inside the building. And I'll tell you, that's something that I've tried really hard. I had a campaign button, and I was trying hard to cover it up when I walked in the building, or remove it. I finally just said I'm going to just remove it altogether, and I haven't worn it for at least a week or a couple of weeks now. But that's important that you not use the county building in any way. And I think it violates county ordinances to do that. But I'll also tell you, on the other side, one of my opponents in this race actually had a sign on the side of his car in the county parking lot, and a number of people brought it to my attention and said, "Are you going to do anything about that? Are you going to talk to anybody?" And my comment was, "Boy, I'm not going to go there. I never made an issue about it to anybody. Other people pointed it out to me, but I think it wasn't. I'm just not going to go there. I think that to make the announcement on the courthouse steps was completely, not only appropriate, I think it's the right place to do it, but for this free speech, because it's the place where we embrace free speech. But yeah, I'll just
Okay.
leave it at that.
Trish Baker, running for Circuit Court Judge. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in today.
Oh, certainly. I'm happy to be here.
Great, thanks.